Step into the world of secrets and lies. Dive into the hidden tales and whispered betrayals of infidelity alongside us. Life often unveils surprises that defy all expectations. All is serene and recognizable, until, in an instant, like a thunderclap in a tranquil sky, everything shifts. Initially, it lingers just beyond the threshold of awareness, a whisper in the shadows. Yet, with each passing moment, that sensation swells, consuming you whole, wrapping around your essence like a relentless tide. That evening was charged with an unsettling energy, the moment Dominic, my husband's father, stepped through the door. My name is Elena, and I lead a seemingly ordinary life in a quaint town nestled in the heart of Oregon. In the heart of our bustling home, I stand beside Nathan, my partner in life and love. Together, we nurture our two children, pouring every ounce of our energy into their growth and happiness. Our house stands on the edge of the forest, and in moments of solitude, I sense the trees murmuring among themselves, sharing secrets that are both timeless and profound. Yet, as I have come to understand, the true mysteries lie not within the depths of the forest, but rather in the shadows cast by those we hold dear. Dominic's arrival was a surprise, even though he had given us a heads up about his visit. His visits were infrequent, yet they carried a weight of anticipation. A man consumed by his work, stationed in a distant state, he somehow carved out moments to grace us with his presence. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I opened the door to him, a shiver of inexplicable unease coursing through me. He had always been a reserved, calm person, but in that instant a flicker of something unrecognizable ignited in his gaze, paralyzing me with its intensity. As the last remnants of dinner faded into the background, we settled into the living room, the air thick with unspoken stories and the promise of what was to come. Nathan spoke of work, his voice weaving through the stillness of the night. The children had long since drifted into dreams, leaving only the crackling fire in the hearth to bear witness to our whispered exchanges. I fought against the urge to glance at Dominic, yet his presence enveloped me, igniting every fiber of my being. His gaze held a question I couldn't answer, a silent challenge that twisted my guilt into something dangerous. I struggled to concentrate on Nathan's words, yet each time I raised my eyes, I found myself ensnared by Dominic's piercing gaze. A strange, incomprehensible allure surrounded it, drawing one in with an irresistible pull. It was not mere curiosity. It was a deeper yearning, an insatiable urge that compelled me to unravel the mysteries hidden behind his enigmatic smile. The night swallowed the last traces of daylight, and the creeping shadows mirrored the guilt taking root in my chest. Heavy, suffocating, inescapable. That evening crackled with a dangerous energy, the kind that whispers this will cost you everything before you even understand the price. As the chatter faded into an uneasy silence, and Nathan proposed that we retreat to our rooms, an unexpected wave of disappointment washed over me. It was utterly absurd, yet I found myself yearning to remain, to keep experiencing the inexplicable pull that enveloped the room. Yet, I knew deep down that I couldn't permit myself that indulgence. With quiet determination, I rose and trailed behind my husband, leaving Dominic to wrestle with his own thoughts in the stillness of the room. The night stretched endlessly, shrouded in shadows and whispers. Restless in the depths of night, I tossed and turned, unable to escape the relentless pull of my thoughts, each one leading me back to Dominic. His gaze lingered, a steady calmness that etched itself into my thoughts, refusing to fade away. His voice echoed in my mind, an indelible whisper that refused to fade away. I fought against the creeping doubt, telling myself it was merely a figment of my weary mind, a product of exhaustion and anxiety. Yet, no matter how hard I tried, the truth loomed larger, refusing to be dismissed. Within me, a tempest was brewing, a force I feared to utter into the world. The dawn broke, and I steeled myself to face the day, determined to mask the turmoil brewing within. As Nathan and I shared breakfast, our conversation flowed with plans for the day ahead. Yet, an unsettling sensation crept over me. Dominic's gaze was fixed upon me, as if he were attempting to unravel the secrets hidden within my mind. It was as if they were caught in a silent game, the rules unspoken yet understood. The tension thick in the air as both players sensed the stakes were high and the match had begun. As Nathan departed for work and the children set off for school, a heavy silence enveloped the house, leaving me alone with Dominic. The house lay in an eerie silence, the only sound the wind whispering through the trees, weaving a tapestry of coziness and tranquility that belied the secrets hidden within its walls. As I busied myself with the household chores, an invisible thread tugged at my mind, pulling me back to thoughts of him, relentless and consuming. I became attuned to the rhythm of his footsteps, the subtle sounds he produced, and gradually, it dawned on me that I was anticipating our meeting. As I stood at the sink, the sound of running water filling the air, he stepped into the kitchen, his presence shifting the atmosphere around me. His presence loomed over me, an electrifying force that ignited a tight knot of nervousness deep in my chest. I felt the weight of his presence behind me, a palpable tension that quickened my heartbeat, urging me to remain still and silent. "Elena," his voice sliced through the silence, catching me off guard, and I flinched involuntarily. He exuded his usual calmness, yet beneath the surface, a subtle inflection in his voice sent a shiver down my spine, leaving me breathless. As I pivoted, our eyes locked in an intense exchange. He was nearer than I had anticipated, and a shiver coursed down my spine. His eyes held a deep enigma, hinting at secrets that danced just beyond my grasp. We locked eyes in a heavy silence, and in that instant, I understood that what had blossomed between us transcended the ordinary bond of a father-in-law and daughter-in-law. The urge to speak clawed at me, yet the words remained trapped, lodged in my throat like a heavy stone. We were so close that I could hear the rhythm of his breath, and that feeling wrapped around me like a thick fog, consuming every thought and sensation. A tempest raged within me. A realization washed over me, a chilling awareness that something was unfolding, something that defied the natural order. Yet, despite the urgency clawing at my insides, I found myself unable to halt the inevitable. Each fleeting glance, each subtle gesture from him ensnared my senses, and deep down, I understood it was more than mere attraction. It was an extraordinary sensation, a force that was igniting slowly, like embers glowing in the darkness, waiting for the right moment to burst into flames. Dominic averted his gaze, offering me a fleeting moment to gather my scattered thoughts, yet deep down, I understood that this moment would etch itself into my memory, haunting me for years to come. As I pressed on with my tasks, each tick of the clock was steeped in his presence, his piercing gazes, and the haunting echo of his voice lingering in the air. A sense of impending chaos loomed, a storm waiting to unleash its fury, yet it had already ensnared my every thought. As the sun dipped below the horizon, that day slipped away, leaving an unsettling sensation that a profound shift had occurred within the fabric of my life. A chilling awareness washed over me, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Yet despite the peril, an irresistible pull kept me tethered to the edge of the abyss. Everything appeared ordinary, but within me, a mysterious power was awakening, slowly consuming my very essence. All day, I wrestled with the tumult of emotions swirling within me, searching for a thread of understanding to unravel the chaos. Cleaning, cooking, and tackling household chores were meant to be my refuge, a way to keep the shadows at bay. Yet, each time solitude enveloped me, my mind spiraled back to Dominic, pulling me deeper into a whirlpool of memories and emotions. A restless energy coursed through me, yet the reason behind it eluded my grasp. An unseen net began to weave itself around me, constricting its hold with every fleeting moment. As the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows stretched across the room, Nathan walked through the door, weary from the day's toil. I masked my true feelings, striving to maintain an air of normalcy. As we sat down for dinner, the air was thick with the warmth of shared moments, our conversation weaving through the tapestry of daily life, each word a thread binding us closer together. Nathan spoke of work troubles, his voice a distant murmur as my attention drifted to Dominic. There was an unspoken tension in the air, palpable and electric, and I could see that he felt it too. His calmness and silence enveloped the room in an air of mystery, drawing me in as if he were a predator patiently waiting for me to make the first move. As the last bite of dinner lingered on my tongue, Nathan's voice broke the silence, proposing a walk under the night sky. Yet, fatigue wrapped around me like a heavy blanket, and the weight of the day pressed down, compelling me to decline his invitation. He shrugged, pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead, and then he was gone, leaving me alone with Dominic in the heavy silence that followed. The atmosphere thickened, a palpable tension settling in the room, reminiscent of the stillness that precedes a tempest. A wave of uncertainty washed over me, and a chill crept down my spine, leaving me momentarily speechless. "Elena," Dominic shattered the stillness, his voice steady yet laced with a compelling urgency that sent a shiver down my spine. "Something about you has shifted. Is everything okay?" That seemingly innocuous question sent a jolt of tension through me. Conflicted emotions churned within me, a tempest I couldn't reveal to him, for I was still lost in the depths of my own confusion. Yet his words, laced with genuine concern for my condition, caught me off guard and, to my dismay, stirred a longing within me. "Yes, everything is fine," I replied, forcing a calmness into my voice that I didn't truly feel. Fatigue clung to me like a heavy fog, wrapping around my senses and dulling the edges of my thoughts. Dominic remained silent, yet his eyes held mine with an intensity that felt both unsettling and electric, lingering longer than they ever had before. In his gaze, I glimpsed a myriad of questions, each one a haunting echo of uncertainty that I couldn't begin to unravel. We slipped into silence once more, yet this silence held a strange comfort, an unspoken understanding between us. Instead, the air crackled with unspoken tension, a palpable sense that we were both on the brink of something, yet frozen in place, reluctant to take that first step. There came a moment when the weight of his presence became too much to bear, suffocating the air around us. My heart pounded in my chest, a wild drumbeat that echoed in my ears, while my thoughts twisted and turned in a chaotic dance. I rose from the sofa, deliberately avoiding Dominic's gaze, and made my way to the door. I stepped outside for a breath of fresh air, my gaze fixed ahead, refusing to glance back. He remained silent, and as I stepped outside, the night air wrapped around me, its coolness a stark contrast to the tension I left behind. The forest surrounding our house lay in a hushed stillness, where only the soft whisper of the breeze stirred the leaves, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. With a deep breath to steady my racing heart, I ventured slowly down the path, each step drawing me further into the shadowy embrace of the forest. The weight of the moment pressed down on me, demanding clarity amidst the chaos swirling in my mind. I needed to grasp the unfolding mystery of my existence. This man, my husband's father, stood before me, an enigma wrapped in layers of ice, his demeanor perpetually cold and distant, leaving an unsettling chill in the air. Why was an inexplicable feeling stirring within me for him? The relentless thoughts clawed at my mind, yet they offered no solace, only confusion. As I ventured deeper into the forest, the shadows danced around me, and my mind raced with a whirlwind of thoughts. The winding path drew me closer to a small pond, a hidden gem I had nearly lost from memory. The water lay in shadow, a deep and motionless expanse mirroring the vast night sky, punctuated only by a scattering of distant stars. I settled onto a weathered bench beside the shimmering water, the wind weaving through the branches of the trees, creating a haunting melody that danced around me. In this solitude, I found a moment of peace, a stillness that enveloped me like a warm embrace. I shut my eyes, surrendering to the darkness, letting the weight of Dominic, Nathan, and all my burdens slip away, if only for a fleeting moment. Yet, the tranquility was fleeting. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed behind me, sending a jolt of tension through my body. As I slowly opened my eyes, a shadowy figure loomed closer, its presence sending a shiver down my spine. It was Dominic, the name that echoed in the shadows, a whisper that sent chills down the spine. He approached, his presence heavy in the air, and settled beside me on the bench, silence enveloping us like a thick fog. His presence sent a jolt of anxiety through me, yet simultaneously, a thrilling spark began to flicker to life inside, a flame that refused to be snuffed out. We lingered in the stillness, our shoulders brushing, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air between us. The silence enveloped us like a thick fog, yet within that stillness, an unseen energy pulsed, binding us together in an unbreakable connection. An electric current surged across my skin, quickening my heartbeat with an intensity that was impossible to ignore. Within me, two emotions clashed fiercely. A powerful compulsion to escape clashed with a deep-seated dread of the unknown that awaited me if I chose to remain. Dominic's gaze shifted, his head turning with a deliberate slowness as he locked eyes with me. In his eyes, I glimpsed the very essence of what stirred within me. Magnetism. A fervent desire simmered beneath the surface, now surging forth with an intensity that could no longer be contained. Silence enveloped him, yet the intensity of his gaze conveyed a depth of meaning that words could never capture. My gaze was locked, my feet rooted to the spot. We were like two magnets, irresistibly pulled together, defying every obstacle in our path. My breath came in rapid bursts, a frantic rhythm that I feared would betray the wild thumping of my heart. In that instant, a wave of fear washed over me. A wave of fear washed over me. The realization that I was losing control, that the pull toward this man had grown too powerful to resist. The weight of temptation pressed heavily upon me, and I realized that lingering in this place would soon shatter my resolve. But Dominic, attuned to my unease, severed the bond before I could gather my thoughts. He shifted his gaze, peering into the shadowy depths of the pond's surface. The tension that had once crackled between us began to fade, yet with its retreat, a wave of disappointment washed over me. I yearned for him to take that first step, to unleash the spark that flickered between us, waiting to ignite into something extraordinary. Yet a part of him may have grasped the peril that lay ahead. "It's incredibly serene here," he finally spoke, his voice steady and composed once more, as if the storm had never touched them. "Absolutely," I nodded, battling to reclaim my grip on the situation. "The air is thick with contemplation, a sanctuary for the mind to wander and explore the depths of thought." He gazed at me once more, and in that instant, I understood that this was merely the dawn of something far greater. Amidst the whirlwind of emotions and lurking peril, I sensed that this evening was merely the initial flicker, the precursor to a blaze that would soon consume everything in its path. We lingered in that place, the shadows deepening around us, until the night air wrapped us in its cold embrace. At last, I rose to my feet. In a moment of silent understanding, Dominic followed suit. We trudged back to the house, the weight of our old lives pressing down on us in the heavy silence. But I felt it deep within me. This night had irrevocably altered the course of my life. Upon our return, we found Nathan deep in slumber, lost to the world around him. I slipped beneath the covers, the chill of the night air from the forest dancing across my skin, sending shivers down my spine. I shut my eyes tightly, yet the embrace of sleep eluded me. I lay there, enveloped in the stillness, the soft rhythm of Nathan's breathing echoing in the silence. And I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was on the brink of transformation. The night loomed heavy with the promise of change, a thrilling yet perilous adventure that I could not escape. My life was irrevocably altered, and there was no turning back from the path that had been set in motion. The next morning, I awoke with an unsettling certainty that the night in the forest had not been a mere figment of my imagination, but a haunting reality that was slowly entwining itself around my existence. Everything around me felt hauntingly familiar, yet transformed in ways I couldn't quite grasp. Thoughts of Dominic consumed me, memories of our time by the pond flooding my mind, where silence wrapped around us like a shroud, concealing the intensity of our unspoken desires. His image lingered in the shadows of my mind, a relentless specter that disrupted my every attempt to engage in the mundane. As dawn broke, Nathan slipped out for work, leaving me once more in the quiet solitude of the house, accompanied only by Dominic. The day dawned like any other, shrouded in the familiar veil of routine. As the kids set off for school, I plunged into the whirlwind of cleaning, each task a step deeper into the day's unfolding drama. Yet, everything around appeared to be drenched in vibrant, striking hues. With each step Dominic took through the house, and every fleeting glance he cast, an unfamiliar sensation washed over me, awakening something deep within. An electric charge crackled in the air, a palpable force that demanded attention. All day, I maneuvered through the shadows, desperate to evade any chance of crossing paths with him. A shiver ran down my spine at the thought of being alone with him again. The memory of what transpired by the pond loomed large, a tantalizing echo that threatened to pull me back into its depths, and I knew I wouldn't be able to fight it any longer. Still, his footsteps echoed through the neighboring rooms, and that sensation clung to me like a suffocating fog, wrapping me in its relentless embrace. As dusk settled in, the sun dipping below the horizon, I caught the sound of his voice beckoning me from the living room. The stillness hung in the air, an illusion of tranquility that masked the turmoil lurking beneath the surface. I stepped into the room, forcing a facade of confidence, yet within me, a storm of trepidation raged. Dominic lingered by the window, his gaze fixed on the breathtaking golden hues of the evening sky, as if it held secrets waiting to be uncovered. His head turned ever so slightly in my direction, the sound of my approaching steps drawing his attention like a moth to a flame. "Alina," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as if gauging my response to the very essence of his words. "Yes," I replied, my voice trembling as I fought to maintain my composure, aware that the challenge was growing more daunting by the second. He hesitated, silence stretching between us like a taut wire, and I found myself drawn nearer, unable to fight the magnetic pull of the mystery that surrounded him. The room lay shrouded in an eerie silence, broken only by the whisper of the wind outside, a haunting reminder that life beyond our sanctuary pressed on, oblivious to our stillness. I stood beside him, our proximity unexpected, as the atmosphere around us thickened, charged with an undeniable tension. Dominic slowly pivoted to confront me, his gaze locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. In that instant, a profound truth washed over me. There was no escaping any longer. A fire blazed between us, an inferno that refused to be quenched. His gaze pierced through me, sending a shiver cascading down my spine. "Why do you keep your distance from me?" he inquired gently, his voice laced with an understanding that hinted he already knew. Yet, he yearned to hear the truth spill from my lips. I inhaled deeply, attempting to collect my swirling thoughts, yet they slipped away like grains of sand through my grasp. I found myself unable to deceive him, unable to mask the truth that everything was far from fine. Fear gripped me, and I found myself confessing, my throat tightening as the words escaped. As he stepped closer, a jolt of electricity surged through me when his hand brushed against mine. The touch was feather-light, yet it ignited a tempest of emotions deep within me. As I lifted my eyes to meet his, a powerful realization washed over me. I was powerless to resist any longer. Dominic edged nearer, his warm breath grazing my skin, and I found myself unable to tear my gaze from him. In that fleeting instant, a fragile thread connected us, teetering on the brink of vanishing forever. Uncertainty loomed over me like a dark cloud. Yet amidst the chaos, one truth burned brightly in my mind. Desire coursed through me like wildfire. I craved him. His hand rose, fingers brushing softly against my cheek, igniting a spark that sent shivers down my spine. The motion was so tender that goosebumps raced across my skin, igniting a shiver of anticipation within me. My heart raced violently, each beat echoing in my ears, a frantic rhythm that I feared he might detect. The weight of this feeling pressed against my chest, demanding release, and I could no longer contain it. It had consumed me entirely. Dominic leaned in closer, and the world around them faded into silence, as if the very fabric of time had unraveled. His eyes deepened with an intense fire, drawing closer as his lips inched toward mine. A voice inside me urged to retreat, to put an end to this madness, yet I moved closer, sensing his grip intensify around my face. At last, the moment arrived when his lips brushed against mine. It was a moment that transcended the ordinary, a kiss that ignited a fire deep within, leaving an indelible mark on their souls. It was a liberation from every constraint, every rule and prohibition that had bound her. When our lips met, the world tilted. I knew then that nothing would ever be the same. A deep, unsettling voice echoed within me, warning that this was a grave error, a choice I would come to regret. Yet in that instant, I found myself unable to halt my actions. Dominic drew me nearer, his arms encircling me tightly, as if he were a lifeline, desperately trying to prevent me from plummeting into the dark void I had willingly embraced. The kiss lingered, a profound connection that unleashed the fervent emotions we had both kept buried for far too long. I matched the fervor of his kiss, feeling his hands glide over my body, igniting a surge of longing deep inside me. Deep down, I felt the weight of my choices pressing against my conscience. This moment held the power to alter the course of my life forever. In that instant, my mind was consumed by a singular desire, the overwhelming urge for the man standing before me. As we finally pulled away from each other, our breaths mingling in the charged air, disbelief washed over me like a tidal wave, leaving me reeling from the intensity of the moment. The heat of his kiss lingered on my lips, igniting a fire within me, while my heart pounded wildly, as though I had just sprinted through a grueling marathon. Our eyes locked, a silent understanding passing between us as we struggled to comprehend the weight of our actions. "Helena," Dominic whispered, his voice trembling with an uncertainty I had never encountered before. "We mustn't," but I cut him off, refusing to let him complete his thought. Deep down, I understood his truth. Yet the weight of this moment pressed heavily on my chest, refusing to fade away so easily. I drew him closer, our lips colliding again, igniting a fire between us that burned even brighter than before. The kiss stretched on, a searing heat enveloping us, his arms wrapping around me tightly, sealing my fate and leaving no room for escape. There was no turning back, not even if we had wished for it. This moment had arrived, the one we had both longed for in silence, yet dared not confess to our own hearts. The moment our lips met, I felt the world shift beneath us, an undeniable force pulling me deeper into the unknown. I knew this kiss would change everything, yet I was powerless to resist. My desire for him burned brighter than ever before. At last, as we separated, an overwhelming sense of devastation washed over me, as if the very fabric of the world was unraveling around us. It struck me with a chilling clarity. Our lives would forever be altered. This kiss marked a threshold, a moment that irrevocably altered our path, and I was left in the dark about where it might take us next. Yet, amidst the swirling uncertainty, one truth anchored me. There was no turning back now. Dominic gradually let me go, his gaze a tempest of desire intertwined with a flicker of worry. The air crackled with an undeniable tension, a force that demanded to be acknowledged. We both felt the weight of our colossal error pressing down on us. Yet that realization was powerless to halt the unfolding chaos that had already taken root. "We need to think," he said, his voice heavy with urgency. I nodded, a swirl of uncertainty gripping me, unsure of how to respond to the weight of his words. We stood in that room, the air thick with silence and tension, and I felt it deep within me. This moment had irrevocably altered the course of our lives. As our lips finally drew apart, an electric silence enveloped us, thick with tension and the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. I stood across from Dominic, my mind racing to comprehend the whirlwind of events that had just unfolded. What was once a fortress of stability had crumbled into a whirlwind of chaos, leaving me grappling with an uncertainty I could scarcely comprehend. Dominic stepped back, an unspoken wall rising between us, thick with tension. His eyes flickered nervously, scanning the room, and in that moment, I realized he shared my burden of guilt for what had happened, even as the magnetic tension between us grew undeniable. "We need to talk," he finally said, his voice a whisper of steel beneath a gentle facade. The kiss was forbidden, a moment that defied reason, yet it unfolded with an undeniable intensity. Now, we were bound by that knowledge, a heavy weight pressing down on us, shaping our every thought and action. Every moment felt like a tightrope walk, balancing on the edge of a fragile facade. I struggled to maintain the illusion of normalcy, as if the world hadn't shifted beneath our feet, as if the unspoken truth between us hadn't carved a chasm too wide to ignore. "I understand," I responded, battling to rein in the tumult of emotions swirling within me. "But what comes next?" His gaze met mine, and in that moment, I recognized the same torment that was ripping me to shreds reflected in his eyes. He longed to respond, but just then, the front door creaked open, sending a chill through our veins. It was Nathan, the name that echoed in the shadows, stirring a sense of anticipation in the air. He had come back sooner than I had anticipated. A chilling sweat enveloped me, and I fought to maintain an air of composure. Dominic's face shifted in an instant, his former composure returning like a mask slipping back into place. "Elena, I'm home," Nathan's voice echoed through the house, drawing closer as he made his way toward us in the living room. Dominic nodded at me, a silent cue that the conversation had reached its end. He stepped aside, preparing to depart, leaving an air of unresolved tension in his wake. I stood frozen, a tempest of fear and guilt swirling within me. As Nathan stepped into the room, our eyes locked, and I fought to conceal the storm of emotions swirling within me. "Hi, darling," he murmured, drawing closer and pressing a gentle kiss on my cheek. "Is everything all right?" I nodded, my silence heavy with unspoken thoughts. My heart raced wildly, a frantic drumbeat echoing in my chest, and I couldn't shake the dread that Nathan might pick up on the unease swirling around me. Yet, he appeared oblivious to any hint of danger lurking in the shadows. He was lost in a whirlwind of thoughts, weaving tales of his day at work that danced in his mind like shadows in the twilight. Dominic lingered in the room, absorbing the ebb and flow of Nathan's conversation, but the weight of the moment pressed on him. He soon made his exit, murmuring a need for solitude, a desperate craving for space to gather his thoughts. I stood there, my heart constricting with a mix of anguish and dread as I watched him walk away. What awaited them in the shadows of uncertainty? The evening unfolded in an eerie ambience, thick with unspoken tension. I attempted to maintain my usual demeanor, yet my mind repeatedly wandered back to Dominic. Nathan, blissfully oblivious, wore a smile that radiated warmth as he reveled in the reunion of the family. We settled in for a movie, shared a meal that warmed our souls, and delved into the tapestry of our daily lives, weaving stories and laughter into the night. Yet within me, a tempest roared. As darkness enveloped the world and we settled into our beds, a restless energy coursed through me, preventing sleep from claiming me. As I lay beside Nathan, an overwhelming wave of guilt pressed down on me, suffocating and relentless. A heavy realization settled over me. My actions were beyond redemption, a deep betrayal of his trust that I could never undo. Yet, the haunting image of Dominic lingered in my mind, his kiss igniting a fire within me, his touch sending shivers down my spine. It coursed through my veins like a venomous tide, relentless and unforgiving, denying me any semblance of peace. With careful steps, I slipped out of bed, determined not to disturb Nathan, and quietly made my way out of the bedroom. I craved solitude, a chance to unravel the chaos of what had just transpired. I stepped onto the porch, enveloped by the cool, refreshing embrace of the night air. As I gazed into the abyss of the dark sky, I felt the weight of my unanswered questions pressing down on me, urging me to seek the truth hidden among the stars. Yet, there was nothing. Within me lay a profound void, an abyss I could not comprehend how to bridge. Outside, an eerie stillness enveloped the world. Yet within that profound quiet, the haunting echoes of my thoughts reverberated, filling the void with a cacophony of unspoken fears and desires. I realized that our kiss would inevitably lead to unforeseen consequences. We had crossed a threshold that loomed ominously, a line etched in shadows that demanded our attention. Now I stood at a crossroads, grappling with the weight of this revelation and the choices it demanded of me. Time slipped away unnoticed, and then, without warning, a hand brushed against my shoulder. As I pivoted, my gaze fell upon Dominic. He lingered close, his expression taut, eyes brimming with unease. "Elena, we need to talk," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the stillness of the night might shatter at any moment. I nodded, the weight of the moment pressing down on me, understanding that evading this conversation had become impossible. As we stepped into the garden, the looming shadows of the trees enveloped us, shrouding our presence from any watchful gaze. Dominic halted in his tracks, his gaze locking onto mine, and I could feel my heart race anew. "This shouldn't have happened," he said, his voice quaking with an intensity that hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. "Yet, I cannot feign that there is nothing binding us together." Desperation clung to my voice as I turned to Elena, my heart racing with uncertainty. "I don't know what to do," I confessed, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "Yet, there is one truth I hold close. We can no longer pretend that everything remains the same." These words struck me with the force of a punch. Deep down, I understood he was right, yet the words eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand. My gaze locked onto him, a whirlwind of thoughts racing through my mind as I struggled to decipher my next move. We stood at the brink of an abyss, each step we took teetering on the edge of fate, a heartbeat away from the unknown. What shall we do now? With a surge of trepidation, I finally mustered the courage to ask. Dominic stepped closer, and a jolt of electricity surged through me as his hand brushed against mine once more. The warmth of the touch enveloped me, yet within it lingered a haunting uncertainty that mirrored the turmoil raging within my soul. "I don't know," he whispered, his voice laced with anguish. "Yet, there is one truth I hold close. I cannot bear the thought of losing you. Yet, the thought of betraying Nathan sends a chill down my spine. We stand at a crossroads, the weight of our decision heavy in the air. The path ahead is uncertain, and every choice carries its own consequences. It's time to determine our next move." Words eluded me. In that moment, we both grasped the weight of our actions, knowing they would alter the course of everything we held dear. We stood at a crossroads, faced with the choice to cut the ties that bound us, or to forge ahead on a path that seemed destined to unfold before us. Yet, regardless of the circumstances, the choice demanded careful. We lingered in the garden, enveloped by the hushed embrace of the night. A tempest of emotions roiled within me, yet the words to articulate the turmoil in my soul eluded me. This moment loomed large, the most pivotal in my existence, and I felt the weight of every decision we faced, knowing that each choice would ripple through our lives with unforeseen consequences. "We can't go back," I whispered, my voice trembling as the weight of the moment settled around us. Yet uncertainty grips me, leaving me at a standstill, unsure of the path ahead. Dominic nodded, a silent agreement passing between us, the weight of unspoken understanding hanging in the air. We found ourselves ensnared in a predicament with no clear way out. In that instant, a profound truth washed over me. I could not imagine a life devoid of the person who stood before me, their presence igniting a fire within my soul. Against the backdrop of countless obstacles and the weight of unbearable pain, I felt an undeniable truth. Our connection surged with a power that defied every rule and prohibition set before us. "We'll find a way," Dominic finally declared, his voice brimming with determination. "We must confront the truth, both with one another and within our own hearts." I nodded, a surge of strength coursing through me as his words wrapped around my spirit. Uncertainty loomed over us, shrouding the future in mystery. Yet, in that fleeting moment, a profound clarity washed over me. I was prepared to embrace this journey, regardless of the challenges that lay ahead. Silence enveloped us as we made our way back to the house, each step heavy with unspoken thoughts. Yet deep within me, I sensed that this conversation had shifted the very fabric of my reality. In that moment, the boundaries of our relationship dissolved, transforming us from mere father-in-law and daughter-in-law into something deeper, something unspoken yet profoundly felt. We had transformed into an unstoppable force, a powerful entity that could no longer be contained. The dawn broke, but I awoke to a weight pressing down on me, a heavy burden that seemed to anchor my very soul. The whirlwind of the past few days loomed large in my mind. Each tense encounter with Dominic, the stolen kisses, and the weight of our unavoidable conversations swirling around me. It all felt so vivid, so tangible, that I could no longer push aside the truth of my emotions. Nathan had slipped out for work before dawn once more, casting an eerie silence over the house as Dominic and I found ourselves alone in its shadowy corners. The electric tension of his closeness, the weight of our solitude, and the unspoken events that had transpired between us formed an insurmountable wall, one we could no longer evade. After breakfast, I scrubbed the kitchen, each movement a desperate attempt to fend off the relentless swarm of thoughts that buzzed around my mind, refusing to grant me a moment's peace. Dominic felt a surge of unease coursing through him. The sound of his footsteps echoed from the next room, each step sending a shiver down my spine as I sensed his piercing gaze lingering on me with every pass. The tension escalated with every ticking second, wrapping around me like a vice, until I was certain I could bear it no more. In a moment of clarity, I understood that the time had come for me to take that crucial first step. At last, I could no longer contain the torrent of emotions that had been locked away within me for what felt like an eternity. I flung the dishcloth into the sink, the fabric landing with a soft splash, and made my way to the living room. There, on the couch, sat Dominic, his gaze distant, ensnared in the labyrinth of his own thoughts. As I stepped inside, his gaze met mine, and I could feel the same fierce flame flickering in his eyes, mirroring the blaze igniting within me. Silently, I edged nearer to him, my heart pounding with an intensity that threatened to consume me. In the stillness between us, our eyes conveyed a depth of emotion that no words could ever capture. In that instant, a realization washed over me. I could no longer resist the magnetic pull of this attraction. It had grown more powerful than I could handle, and I could see that Dominic shared the same realization. He rose to his feet, and I moved closer, drawn in by an unseen force. Our breaths intertwined, a shared rhythm in the charged air between us. His hand settled on my shoulder, and in that instant, everything else faded away. All constraints had vanished, leaving behind a world unbound by rules and free from prohibitions. In every fleeting second, an intense passion ignited, a fire that consumed us both, drawing us closer with an irresistible force. Dominic drew me in, our lips colliding once more, but this time every trace of hesitation vanished into the air. The kiss ignited a fire between us, a longing that had been buried too deep to contain any longer. I matched the intensity, sensing my internal barriers shatter beneath the weight of this overwhelming emotion. His touch ignited a fire in my soul, one that burned away every boundary between us. He kissed me with a fervor that suggested it might be our final embrace, and in that instant, I surrendered entirely, losing myself to the magic of the moment, oblivious to everything beyond us. We both felt the weight of inevitability in the air, a heavy silence that spoke of boundaries crossed, of a line drawn in the sand that we could never step back from. As his hands began to peel away my clothes, a thrill coursed through me, and I found myself surrendering to the moment. This moment belonged solely to us, and I felt an unshakable certainty that nothing could stand in our way. Dominic swept me off my feet, cradling me in his strong embrace as I clung to his neck, the world outside fading away as he carried me down the dimly lit hallway toward the bedroom. The path to the room stretched out before me, a seemingly eternal trek, while an insatiable fire coursed through my veins, igniting every sense with longing. The anticipation coursed through me, a thrilling promise of our bodies intertwining, ready to reveal the secrets we had kept buried for far too long. As we entered the dimly lit bedroom, Dominic's hands cradled me as he laid me softly on the bed, his presence looming over me like a protective shadow. His eyes blazed with intensity, and in that instant, I realized he was poised to offer me every ounce of his being. I traced my fingers along his face, savoring each contour, each curve, as our kiss intensified, igniting a fire between us. He descended upon me, his lips igniting a fiery trail across my skin. As I shut my eyes, I let go, allowing the sensations to wash over me, igniting every nerve in my body beneath his touch. The dam of my emotions had finally burst, and there was no turning back. They surged forward, unstoppable, like a torrent breaking free from its confines. Dominic's touch was soft, yet there was an undeniable power in his every gesture that intensified my longing. His hands danced across my body, discovering every curve as if it were a new landscape, and with each kiss, each caress, the world around us faded into oblivion. His presence crept along my skin, a tantalizing journey as his lips ascended, finally reconnecting with mine in a breathless moment. In that fleeting instant, a profound sense of unity enveloped all, eclipsing every other thought and feeling. We flowed together, a single entity, each breath and every moan ignited by the fierce passion that consumed us. His arms constricted around me, his body swaying in a rhythm that intensified with every heartbeat. In that fleeting moment, I was poised to surrender every piece of myself, and I sensed him mirroring that intensity. We were two flames, intertwining and igniting a blaze that illuminated the darkness around us. My emotions surged, and in that moment, the world around us erupted in a dazzling array of colors. It erupted like a dazzling fireworks display, illuminating the sky in a brilliant array of colors, before fading into the depths of the dark night. As Dominic arched his head back, time seemed to freeze, And in that fleeting instant, we both soared to a height that felt forever out of reach. As the echoes of our shared moment faded, we lay entwined, breaths mingling in the charged air, and I could feel the rhythm of my heart aligning with his, a silent testament to the connection we had forged. We were tethered by an unbreakable force, a connection that defied all odds. This moment was the culmination of our deepest desires, and I felt the weight of transformation in the air around us. We stood in quietude, yet the stillness held no trace of discomfort. The air was thick with the intimacy that enveloped us in that fleeting moment. I faced Dominic, my fingers gliding over his cheek as our eyes locked in a silent exchange. In his eyes, I glimpsed not just passion, but something deeper, a bond forged in the fires of shared experiences, an unbreakable connection that tethered our souls together. "We can't hide this anymore," I whispered, my voice reverberating through the heavy silence that enveloped the room. Dominic nodded, a silent agreement passing between us, and in that moment, I knew he shared my unspoken thoughts. There was no turning back now. In that instant, a new chapter unfolded for us, a reality that demanded our attention and could no longer be brushed aside. We stood on the precipice, acutely aware that daunting choices and their inevitable repercussions loomed ahead. Yet, in that instant, nothing else held significance. In that moment, we were united, and nothing else mattered. Days had slipped away since that fateful moment, when Dominic and I intertwined, our bodies and souls merging into a singular existence. That moment stood as a peak for both of us, the climax of all our efforts and dreams, yet it also heralded the dawn of a new reality we were now compelled to navigate. I realized that this single act had transformed everything. The clarity and peace that once bound us would shatter, leaving only echoes of what was. We remained in the same house, yet an unsettling transformation had taken hold of our lives. Nathan remained blissfully unaware, and this only heightened the palpable tension that enveloped us. The weight of the charade pressed down on me, suffocating and relentless. Yet, the true suspense ignited when Dominic and I found ourselves in solitude. These moments crackled with an intensity that was both exhilarating and perilous. We both sensed the inevitable truth. Our bond could not stay concealed for long. A moment would come when we would have to confront a decision that would alter the course of our lives forever. Yet, in that fleeting time, we clung to each second we shared, as if they were the final echoes of our joy. On one of those haunting nights, when the house had succumbed to an eerie silence and Nathan had drifted into a deep slumber, I found myself once more stepping out onto the porch, seeking solace in the embrace of my thoughts. The cool night air wrapped around me like a shroud, and I inhaled deeply, seeking solace in the stillness that surrounded me. My mind spiraled back to Dominic, to the moments we had shared, and to the uncertain path that lay ahead of us. A fierce blaze ignited within me, an unquenchable flame that refused to be snuffed out. It was not merely passion. It was an all-encompassing force that engulfed my very being. My heart was undeniably drawn to Dominic, yet I was acutely aware that this love was fraught with challenges and entanglements that loomed over us. The air was thick with silence as I stood there, my mind adrift in a sea of contemplation, when a sudden sound shattered the stillness, footsteps echoing ominously behind me. True Bro. It was Dominic, the name that sent a shiver down her spine, echoing through the shadows of her memory. He approached me, and a shiver ran down my spine as his hand brushed against my shoulder. The sensation was both hauntingly familiar and startlingly fresh, sending an involuntary shiver coursing through me. I turned to him, and in his eyes, I glimpsed the same tumultuous blend of passion and anxiety that churned within me. "We can't keep going like this," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as though he could sense the turmoil swirling in my mind. "The danger is escalating, Elena. A choice looms before us, heavy with consequence." Deep down, I understood he was right. The time had come to break free from the shadows of clandestine gatherings and unspoken emotions that had ensnared us for too long. A choice loomed before us, heavy with consequence, demanding our deepest contemplation. "What do you think we should do?" I inquired, striving to maintain a calm facade. Yet within me, a tempest raged. Dominic fell into a heavy silence, the weight of his thoughts pressing down as he contemplated his response. He wrestled with his inner turmoil, desperately seeking an escape from the suffocating predicament, yet his eyes revealed the anguish he fought to conceal. "I don't know," he finally admitted, his voice heavy with emotion, "but I can't bear to watch you suffer any longer. The time has come for us to determine our next move. Perhaps it's time we revealed the truth to Nathan." His words hit me with the force of a thunderbolt. His suggestion caught me off guard, yet I couldn't deny the underlying logic that lay within it. Our sanctuary was merely a fleeting illusion. The shadows would not shield us for long. But how could I possibly confess to Nathan the truth of what had transpired? What would his response be? Thoughts swirled in my mind like a tempest, each one crashing against the other, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty, desperately searching for an answer that eluded me. A shiver coursed through me as I whispered, "It will destroy everything." Is this truly the path we should be taking? Dominic drew nearer, his fingers gliding down my cheek, and an intoxicating warmth enveloped me. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice trembling with an unmistakable ache that pierced through the silence. "Yet, there is one truth I hold close. The weight of the deception has become unbearable. I can no longer endure this facade. You hold an irreplaceable place in my heart. I'll go to any lengths to be by your side, Elena." His words lingered in my mind, igniting a storm of thoughts. Deep down, I felt the weight of his honesty, yet I understood that the choice before us would alter the course of our lives forever. There was no turning back to the life we once knew. Yet, perhaps that wasn't essential. We stood there, enveloped by the stillness of the night, and I sensed the tension coiling around us, growing heavier with each passing moment. This moment had transformed into a pivotal juncture in our lives. The path behind had vanished, leaving only the weight of the moment ahead. "I can't bear to hide any longer," I finally declared, sealing my fate. "Yet, we must tread with caution. I need a moment to unravel my thoughts and weigh everything carefully." Dominic nodded, a silent agreement passing between us, recognizing that my request wasn't a plea for retreat, but a call to brace ourselves for the challenges that awaited. He enveloped me in his embrace, his arms encircling me with a fierce intensity, as though shielding me from the chaos of the world beyond. In that instant, a fierce determination ignited within me. I was prepared to risk everything to be by his side, no matter the fallout that awaited. In the days that followed, I grappled with the weight of my secret, searching for the right moment to reveal the truth to Nathan. Yet, each time I tried to initiate the conversation, an invisible force restrained me. A weight pressed down upon me, suffocating, stealing away my breath and leaving me gasping for freedom. Determination surged within me, yet the path forward remained shrouded in uncertainty. Dominic sensed the palpable tension in the air, yet he made a conscious effort to keep the pressure off me. Our clandestine gatherings persisted, yet an air of melancholy overshadowed the fleeting moments of happiness we once shared. We both felt the weight of inevitability pressing down on us, the air thick with anticipation, as we approached the moment that would irrevocably alter the course of our lives. It was a day like no other, the house silent and still, its emptiness palpable in the air. Nathan had departed on business, leaving behind an unsettling quiet. That's when Dominic appeared before me, breaking the stillness with an unexpected presence. He appeared serene, yet within his gaze, I glimpsed a fierce determination that had eluded my notice until now. He drew closer, silence enveloping us, and without uttering a single word, grasped my hand, guiding me toward the bedroom. I could sense his desire, a palpable tension hanging in the air between us. In that instant, a deep yearning surged within me, and I craved it as well. The time had come. We could no longer wait, could no longer conceal the emotions that surged within us. I trailed behind him, a fierce blaze of desire kindling deep inside me. This was our moment, a fleeting chance that we had to seize before it vanished into the shadows. As Dominic shut the bedroom door, a palpable tension dissipated, leaving an intoxicating calm in its wake. He pulled me close, and our lips collided once more in a passionate kiss. Yet this time, it was more than mere desire. It was a fierce determination to unite against all odds. In that instant, we felt the weight of inevitability pressing down upon us, a silent acknowledgement that we stood on the precipice of a new chapter, one we could no longer afford to overlook. As we lay entwined on the bed, his hands began to peel away my clothes, and I surrendered entirely to the intoxicating sensation that enveloped us. We were entwined, and each heartbeat resonated with fervor and devotion. It transcended mere physical attraction. It was the profound connection of two souls that had at long last discovered one another. Dominic's birthday was set to unfold as a serene and intimate evening, just the three of us, within the walls of our home, a sanctuary that had morphed into a vault for our deepest, darkest secrets. From the moment dawn broke, an unsettling sensation gripped me, a whisper of something unavoidable lurking just beyond the horizon. Yet I steeled myself, refusing to succumb to the weight of that foreboding feeling. My mind sharpened, honing in on the intricate details of my plan. A spark of inspiration ignited within me as I resolved to present Dominic with a gift unlike any other. It needed to be more than a mere gesture. It had to unveil the torrent of emotions I had concealed for far too long. It struck me like a bolt from the blue, an idea so compelling that I found myself unable to shake it off. I ventured into the store, driven by an intense desire to discover the perfect outfit that would embody the fiery passion and exhilaration surging within me. The store buzzed with an electric energy, filled with alluring costumes that beckoned from every corner. Yet, amidst the vibrant chaos, my gaze locked onto a singular piece, a tantalizing latex outfit, its skirt daringly short and accompanied by a mysterious mask that promised secrets untold. It was flawless, a moment suspended in time, where everything aligned just right. As I stepped into the room, I felt the weight of his gaze, knowing that Dominic would grasp the unspoken truth behind my choice of outfit. I acquired it, concealed it deep within my closet, and penned a brief note for Dominic, detailing the precise time and place for our rendezvous. With a quick glance around, I stealthily tucked the note into his bag, my heart racing as I imagined the moment he would discover it, the weight of my words hanging in the air like a secret waiting to be unveiled. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow, we came together around the table, anticipation buzzing in the air, ready to celebrate a birthday like no other. Nathan radiated joy, his laughter echoing through the room as he spun tales and shared jokes, blissfully ignorant of the shadows lurking just beneath the surface. Dominic appeared composed, yet I could sense the same flicker of intensity in his eyes that mirrored my own. It lay between us, a clandestine bond shrouded in shadows, concealed from the prying eyes of the world. The dinner unfolded seamlessly, each moment aligning perfectly with the carefully crafted plan. But everything shifted in an instant when Nathan's mind flickered to the crucial documents he had carelessly tucked away in Dominic's bag. It caught me off guard, yet I brushed it aside, letting it linger in the shadows of my mind. As Nathan slipped into another room, his footsteps fading into the distance, I remained at the table, my mind swirling with thoughts as I methodically cleared away the clutter. A few minutes later, he reappeared, urgency etched across his face. "I need to leave immediately for the night," he declared, the weight of his words hanging in the air. With an unexpected calmness, he declared, "We'll have to postpone our conversation until tomorrow." His words hung in the air like a verdict, leaving me with no room to contest. He hurriedly gathered his things, pressed a fleeting kiss on my cheek, and vanished, leaving me in the silence with Dominic. A shroud of confusion enveloped me, yet one truth pierced through the haze. A dark and terrible fate loomed just beyond our reach. As he walked away, an electric tension surged within me, reaching a boiling point. A sense of anticipation hung in the air, thick and electric, as I sensed that Nathan was orchestrating something beneath the surface. Yet the nature of his scheme eluded me, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. As the evening unfolded, Dominic and I shared moments, yet in each fleeting glance he cast my way, a familiar anxiety lingered, palpable and unsettling. As the last echoes of laughter faded into the stillness of the house, I slipped into the carefully crafted costume, anticipation coursing through me. With a shared glance, Dominic and I made our way to the bedroom, the air thick with unspoken promises. This was our moment, a fleeting opportunity that demanded immediate action. I felt the weight of urgency pressing down on me, knowing that we had to seize it before it slipped away forever. As I stepped into the dimly lit bedroom, I found Dominic poised, an air of anticipation hanging between us. His eyes ignited with a spark of excitement as he caught sight of me in the costume. As the music enveloped me, I surrendered to the rhythm, the fire of passion igniting within my very soul. It was a liberation, a raw manifestation of the depths of our emotions for one another. In that instant, the bedroom door burst open, and I felt my heart stop. Nathan lingered in the doorway, his expression a tumultuous blend of fury and anguish. He remained silent, his gaze fixed on the scene that was unraveling before him. What is happening in this place? His voice dripped with menace, a low growl that sent shivers down the spine. Dominic leaped from the bed, a shadow crossing his face as the weight of his secrets bore down on him, leaving nothing left to conceal. "You have betrayed me." With a fierce snarl, Nathan propelled himself toward Dominic, fists clenched and ready for battle. "You, my father." The strikes landed with a ferocity I had never witnessed in Nathan before. Dominic stood his ground, yet the conflict in his eyes betrayed a deeper truth. He was torn, unwilling to inflict pain on his own flesh and blood. The clash was steeped in agony and despair, a harbinger of the end of all we held dear. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Nathan drove Dominic back with such force that he crashed to the ground, the impact echoing in the tense silence. He spoke with an unsettling serenity. "Our paths shall never cross again, for eternity." Every fiber of my being was unraveling, yet deep down, I understood that we were left with no alternative. Dominic and I stepped out of the house in silence, the weight of our unspoken thoughts heavy in the air. As we turned our backs on everything that had once held meaning for us, we slipped away under the cover of darkness, as silence enveloped the house like a heavy shroud, hiding every remnant of the events that had unfolded. The details of our packing escape me, as do the words I exchanged with Dominic in that fleeting moment. Everything faded into a single indistinct smear, as if these events were unfolding not in my life, but in the life of a stranger. We floated like specters, slipping away from a broken realm, seeking refuge from the irreparable past. Dominic navigated the road in silence, his expression a mask of calm, eyes locked on the path before him. I searched his eyes for any flicker of emotion, a whisper of what churned within him. Yet all I encountered was a chilling, haunting void. Silence enveloped us, a heavy shroud that stifled words, stole glances, and kept our hands at bay. In that moment, it felt as if words had lost their meaning, rendered utterly superfluous. In that moment, a profound realization washed over us. The world as we knew it had irrevocably shifted, leaving us stripped of all we held dear: our family, our home, our very peace. Only memories lingered, entwined with a bitterness that seeped into every fiber of our existence, tainting the final flickers of life still burning within us. We drove for what felt like an eternity, the road stretching endlessly before us, each mile a desperate attempt to escape the shadows of the past. Yet, even with the miles between us, the gravity of what had transpired loomed large, an oppressive force that bore down on our very souls. At a certain moment, it struck me that this journey had transformed into a powerful emblem of our escape, not just from Nathan, but from one another too. We both understood that the bond we once shared would never again be as intimate as it had been. We pulled into a dimly lit motel on the fringes of town, a place shrouded in shadows, far removed from any echoes of our former lives. The surroundings were so unremarkable and ordinary that they faded into the shadows, barely discernible in the dim light. Dominic slipped out of the car, his movements fluid and deliberate, as he made his way toward the registration desk, the air thick with anticipation. I trailed behind him, a hollow specter, stripped of all emotions save for a profound gnawing grief that consumed me. We checked in and ascended to our room, which mirrored the building's desolation, an echo of emptiness that hung in the air. It stood as a fleeting sanctuary, a place to escape the chaos outside, yet the shadows of our own truths loomed large within its walls. The night unfolded in an eerie stillness, a heavy blanket of silence enveloping the world. We lay on opposite sides of the bed, a chasm of unspoken words and unacknowledged feelings stretching between us, each breath heavy with the weight of what remained unsaid. The ceiling loomed above me, a blank canvas for my racing thoughts, as I grappled with the chaos that had unfolded. It was as if I were trapped in a haunting dream, desperately seeking a way to escape the surreal nightmare that clung to me like a shadow. We stood at the precipice of the unknown, the abyss yawning before us, shrouded in mystery, and I felt a shiver of anticipation for what lay ahead. As I shut my eyes, a restless tide surged within me, refusing to let sleep wash over. The darkness held me captive, teasing the edges of my consciousness, but slumber remained just out of reach. The events of the past few days replayed relentlessly in my mind, each moment piercing like a sharp knife into my heart. I remembered our final exchange with Nathan, his voice laced with venom and anguish. I understood the depths of the devastation I had wrought upon his life. The weight of guilt settled heavily upon me, an unbearable burden I feared I would never escape. As dawn broke, the first rays of sunlight crept through the delicate curtains, casting a warm glow in the room. Dominic turned to me, his expression unreadable, and announced he had to leave for business. With that, he slipped away, leaving me alone in the stillness. As his footsteps echoed and gradually faded behind the door, a chilling sense of loss enveloped me, as if the final thread binding us was unraveling with each step he took into the distance. The weight of silence enveloped me as I perched on the edge of the bed, a storm of uncertainty swirling within, leaving me at a crossroads of indecision. The future loomed before us, cloaked in a thick fog, and all I could perceive within it was a profound void. For several days I existed in that room, enveloped in a haze of forgetfulness. I remained indoors, enveloped in silence, avoiding any interaction with the outside world. My existence had been reduced to the confines of four walls, a desperate attempt to escape the harshness of reality. Yet, with each passing second of isolation, the weight of my anguish grew heavier, suffocating me in its relentless grip. The haunting image of Nathan lingered in my mind, his eyes ablaze with a mix of disappointment and fury. The weight of his unforgiveness hung heavy in the air, a relentless ache that shattered my heart into 1,000 pieces. On the third day, the divorce papers finally arrived, shattering the fragile silence that had settled over the house. Anticipation gnawed at me, a relentless whisper in the back of my mind. I knew Nathan would file for divorce, but the swiftness of his decision caught me off guard, leaving me reeling in its wake. With a swift and resolute action, he aimed to cut all connections without hesitation, ensuring that doubt and regret had no chance to linger. The papers lay before her, devoid of warmth, filled only with sterile legal jargon that felt as lifeless as the ink on the page. "I never want to lay eyes on you or him again. Not now, not ever." A sharp crack echoed within my chest, a painful realization dawning upon me. Nathan was gone, truly and irrevocably lost to my world. This was the end, a conclusion that felt both final and irreversible. Now I found myself utterly alone, bereft of all that had once held meaning in my life. Dominic returned that evening, yet the bond that had once tethered us together had vanished into thin air. He stood apart, shrouded in a fog of his own musings, and I felt the weight of silence, too afraid to break it with questions. We shared a profound emptiness, a void that echoed between us, yet we were too shattered to offer the solace the other desperately needed. We shared a space, yet we were both engulfed in our individual torment. As the days slipped by, a growing unease settled in my chest. Dominic's absences became more frequent, each departure leaving me in a haunting silence, alone with my thoughts. He kept his destination a secret, and I chose not to pry. A wall loomed between us, its presence expanding, pushing us apart with an unyielding force. Deep down, I understood that our relationship lay in ruins, yet the thought of losing him entirely was a reality I couldn't bear to face. Every day unfolded like a reflection of the one before it. I drifted through the room like a restless spirit, searching for solace that eluded me. Desperation clawed at my insides as I found myself adrift, with no refuge in sight and no soul to offer solace. Dominic and I had become mere shadows of the people who once shared a deep and passionate love. We had transformed into mere shadows of our former selves, tethered together solely by the weight of our shared anguish and the haunting grip of guilt. A creeping awareness settled in me, a chilling truth that this sanctuary was but a fleeting illusion, and inevitably, Dominic would slip away into the shadows. He was bound to leave, unable to endure the torment of this endless nightmare. As I watched him retreat further into his own world, a chilling realization settled in my heart. Soon, our journeys would diverge forever. On that fateful night, as the truth settled in, I sensed a fracture deep within my soul. Everything I held dear had slipped through my fingers: my family, my home, my love, leaving behind a haunting emptiness. Now I stood in solitude, the vast emptiness stretching out before me like an uncharted abyss. After the divorce papers landed in my hands, an unshakable silence enveloped Dominic and me, a profound sense of irreversible loss that hung heavily in the air. A dense fog crept in, wrapping around us, severing the connection to the passion and intimacy that had once united our souls. As the days slipped by, our bond became increasingly delicate, resembling a fragile sheet of ice teetering on the brink of breaking, ready to splinter into countless fragments. We remained in the same motel that had once offered us a fleeting sense of safety, yet now it was a hollow shell, echoing with coldness and emptiness. As Dominic's absences grew more frequent, the silence of the house wrapped around me like a heavy shroud, leaving me to navigate the shadows of solitude. It became clear to me that these business trips were merely his desperate attempts to flee from the suffocating grip of reality, from the weight of the responsibilities that had become too heavy to shoulder. With each passing moment, his departures stretched into endless voids. He staggered in late weariness etched into his features, a storm of irritation brewing beneath the surface, his aloof demeanor a clear barrier against the world around him. An unseen barrier loomed between us, rising ever higher and becoming more unyielding with every fleeting moment. Silence enveloped us, a heavy shroud that stifled any mention of what lay ahead. Our thoughts and feelings became unspoken shadows, drifting between us, unacknowledged and untouched. The bond that had once felt unbreakable began to unravel, thread by thread, as shadows crept into the corners of their connection. I struggled to grasp the turmoil consuming Dominic, yet he kept me at arm's length, shrouded in a veil of secrecy. His silence wrapped around me like a heavy fog, suffocating and relentless. As I descended further into the abyss of loneliness, it felt as though a consuming darkness enveloped me, leaving no glimmer of hope for escape. At times, I found myself lingering in the shadows, yearning for his return, clinging to the faintest glimmer that our connection still flickered beneath the surface. Yet with every return, he seemed to retreat further into himself, and I came to understand that these hopes were nothing but a mirage. One evening, after Dominic had departed once more, I found myself alone in the room, enveloped by a silence that bore down on me from every direction. The chill of the air wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud, and the desolation of this place gnawed at my very soul. I knew I had to leave. I could endure it no longer. I stepped outside, yearning for a breath of fresh air. But even amidst the towering trees and the whispering wind, solace eluded me. A profound, all-encompassing void enveloped me, swallowing every trace of light and hope. As I stepped back into the room, an overwhelming void enveloped me. Dominic had yet to come back. I perched on the edge of the bed, anticipation coursing through me as I awaited his arrival. But time stretched endlessly, each hour crawling by in a torment of anticipation. A chilling realization washed over me. He was never coming back. This revelation struck me with the force of a heart-wrenching blow. He was gone, slipping through my fingers like all the rest of my shattered dreams. Days slipped by like shadows, and still, Dominic did not come back. Without him, the room transformed into a suffocating cage, its walls closing in, leaving me with no way out. I existed in a perpetual state of anticipation, straining to catch the faintest sounds beyond the door, yearning for the moment his footsteps would echo in the silence. But no footsteps echoed through the silence, and with each passing day, hope dwindled like snow under the relentless sun. On a day like no other, I felt an undeniable urge to step outside, driven by the hope of finding Dominic. I wandered through every corner of our shared memories, yet not a single sign of him remained. He had disappeared, leaving me alone in this soulless realm, haunted only by the echoes of what once was. As I stepped back into the dimly lit motel room, my eyes were drawn to a letter lying ominously on the table. His words, inscribed with a precision that betrayed an unsettling confidence, struck me like a dagger, sealing my fate in an instant. Elena, I regret what happened. I find myself at a crossroads, unable to press on any further. Our journeys have taken us in different directions. Our paths cannot intertwine. All that once connected us has faded into the shadows of yesterday. Farewell. The letter lay before me, a haunting enigma that rendered me speechless, disbelief coursing through my veins. This was the conclusion I had dreaded, yet it had arrived against all odds. Loneliness enveloped me, a heavy cloak that felt both familiar and suffocating. Every dream, every hope, every meticulously crafted plan hung in the air, waiting for the moment to unfold. In a heartbeat, everything lay in ruins. All I could do was surrender to this harsh reality. The room I stayed in now seemed like a distant land, unfamiliar and strange. I could no longer remain in this place, trapped among echoes of the past that only deepened my suffering. I gathered my belongings, each item a haunting echo of the past, and stepped out of the motel, resolute in my decision not to glance back. I wandered through the dimly lit streets, uncertainty cloaking my every step. The world around me was a desolate expanse, mirroring the chill that gripped my very soul. Everything I once held dear had slipped through my fingers, leaving me with nothing but the relentless urge to forge ahead, no matter where the path would lead me. Days slipped by, like shadows as I searched tirelessly, until finally, I stumbled upon a small apartment on the far side of town. I rented it, hoping to carve out a fresh beginning. Yet each dawn greeted me with an overwhelming sense of loss. The shadows of my past loomed over me, relentless and unforgiving, denying me any semblance of peace. I drifted like a specter through a realm that had lost its warmth. A place that once cradled me now felt foreign and unwelcoming. A long road stretched before me, winding through the shadows of acceptance and the quest to rediscover my place in this transformed reality. Despite the weight of my losses, I was determined to summon the strength to press on. Weeks dragged on, each day a relentless reminder that the pain refused to fade. Every day unfolded like a relentless nightmare, a dark abyss from which escape seemed impossible. Each morning, I awoke to a profound emptiness that clung to me like a shadow, refusing to release its grip until the night finally descended. It was as though I was ensnared in a thick fog, the light that once guided my way now obscured, leaving me in a disorienting darkness. Once Dominic walked out the door, I remained in the cramped apartment I had secured in a different corner of the city. The apartment was small, nearly suffocating, yet to me, it seemed boundless. In that moment, the emptiness around me echoed the void of my past, a haunting reminder of the home I had shattered with my own hands. It was a new beginning, yet each day unfolded with fresh torments that clawed at the edges of hope. Haunted by my choices, I found myself trapped in a relentless loop of regret and self-reproach, each moment echoing the weight of my past decisions. I had torn apart my family, betrayed the one who loved me beyond measure, and obliterated a bond that was meant to be cherished. The weight of guilt clung to me, an ever-present shadow that refused to let go. At times, I found myself perched on the edge of the bed, lost in a whirlwind of thoughts, envisioning the myriad paths my life could have taken had I chosen differently. If only I had turned back at the very beginning. If only I had fought against my deepest cravings. If only I had stayed true to Nathan, yet those thoughts proved to be in vain. Reality stood before me, unyielding and immutable, a force I could neither bend nor reshape. Each time I stepped outside, an undeniable shift in the world enveloped me, a transformation that was both thrilling and unsettling. As the crowd surged around me, their faces blurred into a tapestry of indifference, a chilling realization settled in. I was a ghost, drifting through a world that had forgotten my existence. In the shadows of my existence, I found myself a mere specter, devoid of the significance that had once illuminated my path. I sought a job, hoping it would pull me away from the relentless tide of my thoughts. Yet even that failed to offer any solace. Each morning I ventured out into the world, searching for work, yet no position seemed to stay within my grasp. All around me, a suffocating emptiness loomed, and I felt utterly powerless to carry on. Loneliness and despair wrapped around me like a shroud, never leaving my side. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced like ghosts, a profound fracture echoed within me after a relentless day of searching. As I curled up on the cold floor, my knees drawn tightly to my chest, the tears began to flow, each sob echoing the weight of my despair. Hot tears cascaded down my cheeks, unstoppable and relentless. A relentless tide surged, sweeping away every ounce of my struggle to remain above water. Tears streamed down my face, a desperate attempt to purge the storm of emotions within me. Yet the weight only grew heavier, offering no solace. It dawned on me that embarking on a new life was far more challenging than I had ever imagined. Every effort I made to create something new crumbled under the weight of regret and guilt, leaving me in a haunting silence. The weight of my actions pressed heavily on my soul, a relentless reminder of the unforgivable choices I had made. I had shattered not just my own existence, but also the very lives of those I held close to my heart. And that realization struck like a thunderclap, an unbearable weight crashing down upon her. In the dead of night, I jolted awake once more, haunted by the shadows of my nightmares. In the depths of my dreams, shadows of Nathan and Dominic emerged, their expressions etched with anguish and disillusionment. I watched as they turned their backs, retreating into the shadows, leaving me to face the encroaching darkness alone. The dreams enveloped me in their vivid grasp, pulling me from slumber with a scream, my heart constricting in a tumult of fear and yearning. One fateful day, as I sat in solitude within the confines of my apartment, a stirring revelation washed over me. I was on the brink of transformation, and something had to shift. The weight of my existence had become unbearable, and I knew I could not endure this torment any longer. In the depths of my soul, I knew I had to unearth a path to release the chains of my past, to embrace the weight of my mistakes, and to forge ahead into the unknown. Yet, those words were far simpler to utter than to put into action. It all began with a pivotal choice. I resolved to seek help. With a heart full of uncertainty, I scheduled an appointment with a therapist, yearning for clarity amidst the chaos of my emotions, and the strength to embrace life once more. The initial sessions proved to be a formidable challenge. Every time I tried to speak of the events, a surge of anguish crashed over me, tightening its grip around my heart. Yet, little by little, I found myself peeling back the layers of my guarded heart. I shared my deepest fears, the haunting reality of having lost everything, and the relentless struggle of carrying this heavy burden on my soul. The therapist guided me through the shadows of my past, revealing a profound truth. While I could never alter what had been, I could embrace the weight of its consequences and forge a new path forward. She revealed to me that my yearning to embark on a new life was the crucial first step on the path to healing. Yet, to forge ahead, I found myself facing the daunting task of learning to forgive my own heart, a challenge that felt insurmountable. The journey stretched on, fraught with agony and endurance. Haunted by my past, I found myself trapped in a relentless cycle, replaying my mistakes in vivid detail, desperately searching for the courage to forgive the person I had become. There were days when despair threatened to consume me, when I believed I lacked the strength to forge ahead. Yet, amidst the shadows, there were fleeting instances when a spark of hope flickered, a delicate beam piercing through the enveloping gloom. As the days passed, subtle transformations began to unfold before my eyes. The agony lingered, yet its edge dulled, transforming into a more bearable ache. It dawned on me that the shadows of my past need not cast a permanent gloom over the horizon of my future. From the shadows of my past, I could rise, drawing strength from the lessons etched in my mistakes, forging a path toward resilience. The journey was fraught with challenges, each step a testament to my resolve, yet I understood that I must press on, no matter how arduous the path to healing became. Each day, I ventured forth, inching closer to the dawn of a new existence. In a quaint little cafe, I stumbled upon a job that offered me a fresh start, a sanctuary where the shadows of my past remained hidden from prying eyes. This place transformed into my sanctuary, a haven where I could momentarily escape the weight of my troubles, even if only for a fleeting few hours. Joy began to weave itself into the fabric of my days, dancing in the morning light, swirling with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and blooming in the warm smiles of the customers around me. In the quiet tapestry of my days, these fleeting moments emerged like glimmers of hope, propelling me forward through the shadows. In that moment of clarity, I understood that the past was beyond my reach, a tapestry of choices woven with threads of regret. Yet a flicker of hope ignited within me, urging me to forge a path toward a brighter future. I embarked on a quest for strength, not merely to survive, but to rediscover the courage to trust others once more, to embrace the thrill of new experiences that awaited me. It was a struggle, yet with every dawn that broke, I sensed a transformation stirring deep within me. At a certain moment, I came to understand that the path to a new life need not be rushed. The transformation unfolded slowly, a delicate dance of time that demanded unwavering patience and fierce willpower. In the depths of my journey, I discovered the profound value of every fleeting moment, each one a tapestry woven with threads of both joy and sorrow. I realized that our existence hinges not only on the way we live, but also on the profound journey of coming to terms with our past actions. Ultimately, I discovered a profound sense of tranquility deep within my soul. In the depths of my reflection, I confronted my missteps, unearthing a resilience within that propelled me forward into the unknown. The past lingered within me, a shadow that whispered of who I once was, yet it no longer held the reins of my existence. As I ventured deeper into the shadows, a glimmer emerged in the distance, a beacon of hope that promised a brighter tomorrow. Errors weave themselves into the very fabric of our existence. Every one of us has made them, and at times, the fallout can be utterly catastrophic. A single misstep unraveled my entire world. My relentless pursuit of passion, blind to the true treasures around me, ultimately cost me everything I held dear. In my relentless quest for more, I lost sight of the treasures that already surrounded me. In a moment of weakness, I turned my back on those I cherished most, shattering my own existence with the very choices I made. In hindsight, I see that my error lay not in the depths of my love, but in the surrender of my grip on the reins of my own life. Hold dear the treasures that surround you. Beware the seductive pull of your desires, for they can obscure the very essence of what is truly important. Passion burns with an intensity that can ignite the soul, yet when it veers into darkness, the fallout can be devastating. If I had the power to alter my fate, I would seize a different path, yet time offers no reprieve. All that remains is the weight of my choices, and the lessons they impart. May my tale resonate with you, and impart a valuable lesson. Learn from my missteps, and avoid the path I took. Guard your treasures fiercely, for unchecked desires can unravel all that you hold dear.